Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Todd and Shane's Cloudy Podcast number 394, recorded live Wednesday, June 20th, 2018. And this has been an interesting week. So you were off a week, and I was off for a week, and then we were together, and now we're together again, and I'm going to be gone next week. I'm going to be vacationing, so I apologize in advance to the listeners and the viewers because it will be all Shane next week, and all Shane talking about Shane. And I apologize. I couldn't feel worse about it. I feel guilty already.
When are you going to give me a soundboard so I can have the applause? Woo! No, Todd! Yeah!
So, months ago, Shane recommended to me that I listen to the podcast. This podcast has fleas. With my kids, it was hysterical. It was every bit as great as he led me to believe that it would be. But one of the characters, Jones the cat, has the soundboard. And I've never really wanted a soundboard until I saw how Jones the cat utilized it. And now I want to be a little bit more like Jones the cat. It's
sad, but yeah, I mean, I can see you living in a litter box and having a mixer board so you can do, the auto tuner. Everybody's like, it's so cool.
Yeah, and I like how they contrasted it with the dog, and she's just got like the little xylophone. She's like being a dog and talking about it.
Dog.
It was great. So yeah, I think for our next budget, we need to budget in a soundboard for one or both of us. And part of the budget is we get to talk about our sponsors, and our sponsors right now are the fine folks at SysKit, and they write some great software. If you haven't looked at their flagship product, the thing that bore them into my heart for eternity, is a thing called SP Doc Kit, which documents your SharePoint farm. You should all check it out. They've got a free trial and all of that. But I also do some work for the fine folks at SysKit, and I've recently published a blog post that talks about what's coming out in SharePoint 2019 and what there is to look forward to. And you can find that at blog.syskit.com, or check the show notes at toddclint.com/podcast394. We'll have a link to that. But it just talks about all the great things that they talked about at the SharePoint conference that I'm personally excited about for SharePoint 2019 when it comes out.
SharePoint 2019. I don't know. That's another daunting thing. The real question is, will SharePoint 2019 be, SharePoint 2010 version 4? Or will we finally feel like we've gotten out of that code base and into something new? Talk about it.
I don't know. So I think I feel like the move from SharePoint 2010 to 2013 was kind of big. Not 2007 to 2010 big, but I feel like 2013 stands on its own. But I certainly feel like 2016 is a good amount of polish on 2013. And I think we're going to feel that way about 2019 as well. Not that that's a bad thing. There's a lot of good things about that. But you and I were in the trenches when SharePoint was making these huge changes between versions, and it felt like we were starting all over. And I think those days are behind us.
Yeah, which would be good, right? Because one of the things that I know people in our seat really dislike about SharePoint Online is it changes every 37 seconds, and we have to relearn, and we feel stupid all the time. And so hopefully, yeah, if the 2016 and 2019 is another incremental change, we won't have to feel dumb. But I mean, I know that's kind of natural for you, so maybe.
Yeah, I get used to that. So that's a water's wet, that's like the whole, have you ever had that time when you wish everybody would just do what you want? Well, yeah, that's just being me. So yeah, feeling dumb most of the time. Yeah, that's just being me. That's just how it is.
All right. Well, so go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say in the chat room, Mark Chrisman's talking about how the UPS changes were bad from 2010 to 2013. And I would say that UPS changes from 2007 to 2010 were much, much worse. That was the whole everything works easily and fast to, oh my God, what have they done to my user profile service?
Yeah, I haven't had enough to drink yet this morning, if you know what I mean, to talk about the user profile service. So I think we're going to have to skip that particular topic. But speaking of things I meant to drink so I could handle.
Uh-huh.
So Todd, Friday, I know you flew to Columbus, Ohio.
Very big day for me, yeah.
And unfortunately, we have a tech podcast, and you bought the most tech of all cars. So I'm going to allocate you a couple minutes to tell us how wonderful and amazing your life is.
My life is pretty wonderful and amazing. Friday afternoon, about 1:07 Eastern Standard Time, I became the proud owner of a Tesla Model S, a car that I have lusted over incessantly, annoyingly to my wife's chagrin for 4 years now, probably. And I finally have one. and it is everything that I thought it would be, and just a whole lot more. It was pretty great. I brought a buddy of mine out. He also has a Model S, and so he and I flew out to Columbus and then drove it back. It was 13 hours and some change to drive back from Columbus to Ames, and I would do it all over again. I got up at like 4:30 in the morning on Friday to get my flight to get out there, and I rolled back into bed about 4:30 Saturday morning after the drive. But it was worth every bit of it.
And so, first reaction, what was your favorite feature? What's the thing that just you're like, oh my God, why doesn't every car ever do this?
Man, I don't know. Like, there's so very many of them. The autopilot stuff, we see that all the time in the news, mostly because it's running people into buildings and catching them on fire. But man, that feature I cannot say enough good things about that feature. So for those that have only read like the headlines and all that, Tesla has this group of features called Autopilot, which is probably poorly named at this point. But it is a combination of different autonomous features that the car has. So one of the features is the adaptive cruise control, which my current car has, which is that whole idea that when you set your cruise, your car slows down before it runs into the thing in front of you, which is obviously a good thing. It has lane guidance, so it can read the lanes on the road and it will steer your car, follow the lanes. My current car, my 2013 Explorer, also had that, but way, way rougher. And then the Tesla just can see other cars around you. So if you want to change lanes, you can just hit the turn signal. It will wait until there's a clear spot and it will pull you over, things like that. But what I will tell you is we drove back. So there's kind of two big changes, two big differences. So it's funny. The last time I bought a car, I bought it on the internet and I flew out to Ohio and I drove it back. So I keep doing this, flying out to Ohio and buying blue 4-door cars and driving them back. But one of the differences when I got home from that, I drove it all in one big stretch. That was Cincinnati. But I was pooped. Like, I was exhausted, just blah. Two big differences with a Tesla. Number one is the whole autopilot thing. And then number two was the fact that I had to stop at superchargers as opposed to gas stations. And what I found was the combination of those two things. When I got home Saturday morning at 4:30, after being up for 24 hours and after driving for 13 hours, because I drove the whole way. My buddy, I didn't let him drive because I wanted to drive.
Good.
I wasn't pooped. I wasn't exhausted. Like, I was tired because I'd been up for 24 hours, but like my brain wasn't frazzled. I was just, I just needed to catch a nap. And I think there's two things that come from that. Number one, with the autopilot things, it's just not as crushing mentally to drive, because the car is paying attention to a bunch of things. You still have to pay attention. There's been a couple of times with the autopilot stuff that I had to like keep it from hitting cones on the road, things like that. So you can't just nod off and take a nap. But it's just not as, like, your brain is just not constantly staring and trying to keep things from killing you. And then the fact that every, 3 or 4 hours, you got to stop and get up and walk around and just, that it's refreshing. I know it stinks from a time standpoint. It probably added another hour or two to our trip, but man, like, I remember the last time we stopped charging was right over the border of Iowa in Davenport. And I remember pulling into that place like 12:30 in the morning, and I was hurting. And we got up and it took like a half an hour to charge. And when we got back in the car, I felt great. We'd gotten up and walked around and, gotten a little something to eat, a little something to drink. And it was great.
And how amazing is it to supercharge versus going to the gas station, right? Going to gas stations repulses me now when I have to do it for a minivan. And so, you don't have to do that in the dead of winter, none of that. You just clean supercharger, you plug in a cable, you get a soda, you grab a burger or whatever. Oh.
Yes. And there's just so much tech around that. I mean, the whole process is just so, I can look on the phone and I can see, I can be inside getting my burger. I can look on the phone and see how, charged my car is. The process has been pretty amazing so far.
Yeah, and in the chat room, they're joking like, "Hey, does your Tesla Autopilot have a monthly CUs?" So we do, right? Todd hasn't experienced it yet, but so once, it just depends. But let's call it once every other month, maybe. I'll get a notification on my phone. It says, "Hey, there's an update for your car," and we'll automatically install at 2 a.m. for you. And it just goes and does it, and you wake up the next day and you're like, "Oh, look, I have new features."
Yeah, my
So
car does stuff it didn't do yesterday.
yeah, and we've added so like the seeing cars in the side lanes and stuff. That was in this latest update that that came out right before Todd got his car, so he already has that one. We've got new functionality around the navigation. They just roll out patches. We don't go to the dealer. We don't schedule service appointments with grumpy people. We just get updates right there. Either it'll download it over the Wi-Fi if you connect it to your home Wi-Fi, or it will, if the update's important enough, it'll even pull it over the air, right? Because our cars are always connected via LTE as well.
Yeah, and that's the fact that my car connects to my home Wi-Fi is kind of cool. I've got a Raspberry Pi thing that has like a family dashboard on it. It's got our schedule and all that kind of stuff on it. But one of the things that it has is a little widget that tells who all's home. Because we've got Jill and I, we got people living here, and how it does that is the Raspberry Pi pings the phone, because everybody's got the cell phone with them. So if it sees the phone on the network, it says, Todd's home, Jill, whatever. So I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to add my car, because when I pull into the garage, my car jumps on my Wi-Fi, and I'll be like, the Tesla's home.
Did you name the car?
I have not yet named the car because I have not yet found a name worthy of the car yet. I haven't found one clever or pithy enough to give it a name yet.
Yeah, it's a weird thing about a Tesla, right? Is one of the welcome screens like, hey, give me a name. And so you feel obligated to name your car. I've never named a car before, but now I felt obligated to name my car.
Yeah, I hear that Bodie McBoatface is already taken, so I can't name it that. That one's already and so Mark in the chat room is talking about that. You don't have to name the car. I have not named the car yet, but you can name the car, and then it shows up in all the interfaces. It is the supercharging stuff. I can't charge it at home yet. Well, I can, but I have to charge it over the 110 15 amp, which is excruciatingly slow.
Yes.
But hopefully we'll be getting that fixed here in the next week or two. But it is fun. Like, my kids love it. They all want to plug the charger in and unplug the charger and do all those kind of things. And it's good. I've got a couple of road trips planned up here in the next month or so. And I've been mapping this stuff out for years, but I know exactly which roads I'll be able to take. The navigation inside of the car will map you to the superchargers, will tell you exactly how long you have to stay there, exactly what your charge will be, exactly what services are there. It will tell you real time how busy the charger is. It's just, man, the technology is just insane.
Yeah. Well, what's funny though is none of it's complicated technology, right? They're just the first one to take the time to put a bunch of simple, easy wins in the environment.
Yep, just to hook a bunch of things together that were already there, to just plug them together, and yeah.
Now, do your kids, have you, so with my kids, when we get in the car, we call it turbo boost, right? When we're at a stoplight, and I'll just lay into it and, pin them to the back of their seats. The kids are big fans of that. Yeah, my kids love the acceleration. I've tried not to be that guy that does that to everybody, but man, I really like being that guy. And so the folks one thing I will tell you is if you've got a Tesla showroom in your area, or if you're going to go to someplace that has a Tesla showroom, go to Tesla.com and schedule a test drive. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, I will never buy a Tesla. They're too expensive. That might be true, but I will tell you, every Tesla showroom you go to, those people love those cars, and they want to show everybody in the world that car as often as they can. They don't care if you're going to buy one or not. They just love watching people drive that car and floor it for the first time and see the look on their face, which is a look where your face is stretched back because you. So don't even, you're not wasting their time. They love doing the thing when they're just sitting there not doing anything. They wish they were out on test drives. So go take one for a test drive to just feel what it's like and understand. The acceleration is amazing. So my car is better than Shane's. It has a 0 to 60 acceleration in 4.1 seconds. And it is just like it, when you do it, it seems faster. It is just insane. And a top speed of 155, which I've not come obviously anywhere near yet. But yeah, it is just, and the funny thing is, like, you do the 0 to 60 stuff and you're used to a regular, regular internal combustion car. And I've got a car, I've got the Trans Am, it's got pretty decent acceleration, but when you floor it, three things happen. Number one, there's just a little bit of lag. Like, there's just a little bit of time between when you decide to floor it and you have to prepare yourself for that.
Number two, it gets super loud when that happens. So anybody else who's in the car who didn't know you were going to do it gets a little thing. And number three, like there's physical shaking. There's just like your body knows something's going to happen. In the Tesla, when you floor it, I swear to God, sometimes before I've even hit the back of the firewall with my foot, we're going Mach 2, and it is just insane.
Yeah, right. Because there's no, like you said, there's no lag, there's no lead up to it. It just goes. And the 0 to 60 in 4.1 or 4.2 in my case is misleading, right? Because the 0 to 30 time is like 1 second, right? I mean, it is slowing down the acceleration pace as we approach 60. So the way that I explain it to people, right, is any of the Teslas that are all-wheel drive, stoplight to stoplight, there's just literally nothing faster. You know, I mean, you can talk about $1 million Lamborghinis and stuff and how they might, but I'm going to tell you from stoplight to the speed limit, you're going to beat anything. And the reason is to, launch that Lamborghini, right? You got to do like a 37-step process. And it still has that initial, you're already gone, right? It'll catch you and it'll blow you away in the long run. Don't get me wrong. But from 0 to that speed limit, you are just going to make that poor guy in his $1 million car look silly. Coming home from dinner on Friday, right? So it's me, the wife, and Luke's in the backseat, my youngest. And not even, I'm just hanging out, talking to Luke about something dumb. And this lowered Mustang with big exhaust, right? It was a brand new one. I mean, it was probably a 400 horsepower, worked up Mustang. He's like, whatever, right? The light turns green. You hear the brrr. After I hear the brrr, I was like, okay, smashed it. I was just gone, right? And he finally catches up, and he won't pass me, right? He does the whole when we were kids, he's sitting way behind me. I'm like, dude, I had a conversation with my kid. I just pressed this pedal that you call it gas pedal. We just call it the go pedal. I just touched it. I didn't have to think. I didn't have to rev my engine and do. Oh, it was hilarious. The wife yelled at me, but I didn't speed. I didn't do nothing. I just hit the pedal, went to 45 miles an hour instantly.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is everybody gets wrapped up in the whole 0 to 60 or the stoplight to stoplight stuff because it's amazing. But the thing that really took me by surprise is you get that same acceleration going from 40 to 60 or 60 to 80. I mean, it is just always right there because there's no shifting. And so when I was driving back, I missed an exit. I was just not paying attention, talking to my buddy, and I was in the process of missing an exit. And I'm like, oh my God. And there's a bunch of cars. And I'm like, so I'm used to driving a regular car. And I was thinking, I'm not going to make it. And my buddy's like, floor it. And so I dropped the hammer. I mean, we were doing 65, 70 at the time. I dropped the hammer. The next thing I do, I'm doing 90, got in front of the car, took the exit to the interstate. And I'm like, thanks, Elon. I mean, there's just things that would not have been possible. It is a lot of fun. Mark, Dan Christian in the chat room is talking about how he's got somebody else that he knows that has a Tesla. It's always talking about it. Yeah, we Tesla owners are an obnoxious lot. It is so sorry about that. We're happy to talk about them. Probably a little too happy. So I will say one thing. So I love a bunch of things, and we could do a podcast on all the great things about Teslas. But I do know that there's one thing that I find almost unforgivably bad about the Tesla. And I'm curious, what is your number one complaint about the Tesla? And you might not have hit it yet. I don't have one?
I mean, I'm sure I have little complaints, but no, nothing. No, I don't have a big one.
My biggest complaint is the web browser. So the 17-inch, well, so you roll your eyes at me. So the screen that has all the info stuff also has a web browser. Clearly, you don't want to be, cruising, any of your favorite websites while you're driving. But it is, I think, for the most part, unusable. I think there is just nothing that you can do with it. And again, you shouldn't be browsing the web when you're driving your car. I totally get that. But there was a couple of times when I was like, oh, I wonder what the weather's going to be like, whatever. I can't even bring up weather.com to see whatever's going on there. There was a time when I was fine coming back, but my buddy was talking about some of the other charging networks, PlugShare, ChargePoint, Blink, some of those. And he was trying to bring one of those web pages up to see if there was any chargers nearby. None of that will come up. I mean, the web browser is just useless.
So I guess I knew. So yeah, I don't even consider it a feature in the car. It's unusable. so I just use the browser on my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a valid complaint. But I guess for me, it was just, it's so unusable that I just don't even think of it as an actual feature of the car.
Yeah. And so I guess I can think of some very legitimate uses for the browser in your car. And this is not to snuff on any of them, which is unfortunate because I can see some things. Yeah. But that's really been my only complaint so far. I'm getting used to the cup holders and the storage and all that. I think my Explorer had more storage, so I just need to get used to what goes where in the Tesla. But small price to pay.
Yeah, the little the thing in the bottom. So the car's got pretty good for cup holders, right? So because the adjustable ones there in the center console work pretty well. But you're right. Yep. It's missing. What's really missing? The big complaint is door pockets. I really just want a door pocket. That's a big complaint of mine.
Yeah. Yep.
So speaking of that giant monitor, we'll switch subjects here, and we will talk about this glorious thing. So
tell us about your new addition to your family.
So while Todd was in Columbus getting a new car, not when he was in Columbus, when he was driving home, I went to the local monitor store. Right, you made fun of me. We have a local monitor store.
Yep.
And so
monitors are us.
I bought the Dell 34-inch bloody. I guess I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I don't have it right now, but I'll put the link in the show notes. And it's it's like 3400 by 2000 something resolution. It's life-changing, folks. I saw it. I fell in love with it. I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. But then I was like, no, I've got to have it. And I've had it now for a week or almost a week. And it's worth every penny. I wish I had bought the 38-inch version, which would have been, double the money. But it is, and it's the first question, right? Todd has the first question I had when I saw it. What about double monitors? We've all had double monitors. We love that.
Yep.
It turns out having one giant monitor is the same as two double monitors is even easier to use because I don't have to drag things over here. I don't have to worry about the bezel in between. So earlier this week, I was doing some editing work for Microsoft. I had, my one document on this side of the screen, the other document over here, and just being able to move back and forth without having to drag across the screen. Oh, I'm not doing enough justice to how much I love this monitor. Buy a widescreen monitor.
Is it? Do you think you love your monitor as much as I love my new car?
No, because I love my Tesla more. So, but this monitor might be second. My kids are third. The dog he's a pain in my butt. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. So Shane had this life-changing event when he saw the big monitor when he was out at Microsoft here a couple weeks ago. And so he tried to get me on board, and I had all the same reservations that he had because I hadn't seen it in person. But I'm getting close. I think for me the big thing is I've got two monitors that work fine, so I don't know that I want to spend the money on another monitor that also works fine. But one of the things that Shane was talking about was just that whole partitioning. And the biggest problem I have with two monitors is the spot that I want to look at right in the center is where all the bezels are, and there's nothing there. And so I can see the widescreen monitor handling all of that.
Yeah, it's been pretty neat. I'm going to tell you, it's going to take a little bit. I think to use it properly, it takes a little bit of rejiggering how you do things. And so I'm not through that learning curve all the way. I talked to one guy who didn't want to bother to learn how. So he had one, and he's like, figuring out how to do this again is too much work. So he went back to tools. So maybe it's not for everyone, but I just think that guy was a loser for giving up.
Yeah, quitters suck. So I might do that. I think my wife has probably cut me off. I don't think I get to buy anything anymore for a while. Yeah. But yeah, so that's good. So that's, it's one of those things. I got a couple monitors 100 years ago and never thought about it again because it was working. So it's good to get these little nudges to say, hey, there's new stuff out there. Check it out.
Yep. All right. So speaking of nudges, we've got introducing the SharePoint Starter Kit. I don't even know what that is. So
yeah. So this is one of those things that I saw get announced here a couple of days ago, the SharePoint Starter Kit. And this is something at dev.office.com. So don't tell anybody that I was out there.
Ew.
But this is a way so Microsoft has packaged up, and I feel dirty making this illusion because it's nothing like this, but this will, I apologize in advance, but this is sort of like the Fab 40 but for SharePoint Online, for Office 365. So it is a way for Microsoft to show you all the crazy things that you can do with the inbox templates and all of that, to kind of help you get started figuring out what to make your SharePoint sites look like.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it's for SharePoint Online, Office 365, not on-prem, but it is a GitHub project, so you can dig into it. You can see exactly how they're making the sausage and all of that, and it will create these site collections in your tenant, and then configure them and do the things. And it uses the SharePoint framework and all of these things. So I think it's great, especially for guys like you and I that aren't in the design and development stuff all the time. And so we hear about things, but we don't actually play with them and make them happen. So it's good for us to see what can actually be done with the product these days. So I kind of like that. And in the chat room, Mark Chrisman is saying, since I mentioned the F word, I should rinse my mouth out with the soap, the lava soap, because I said the bad thing.
Yeah, you know, and I really struggle, right? So the Fab 40 really, really hurt us all, right? Anyone who's done it, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We won't do it again. But so now anytime I see template anything, right? So like in PowerApps, they have all these cool, getting started templates. And I keep seeing people like, hey, I took that template. I'm trying to make it bend to my will. And I'm like, no! You use those templates to learn. Then you go over here and you start with a blank canvas and you rebuild that functionality. There's no scenarios anymore where I can condone anyone starting with a template and then modifying it to meet their behaviors, because the Fab 40 has scarred me for life.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And yeah, I don't want to get into it, but I think this is a better thing because it's built better. Half of the Fab 40 was built using something that we look back on now as a bad idea. But I agree that you should probably use this more as a, proof of concept sort of thing. But it is on GitHub, so people can contribute and make adjustments. They've already got some future plans, so they mentioned that in the blog post, what they're going to add to it, what it doesn't have now. They've got a video that kind of shows how to get it started. And they've got some really good frequently asked questions at the bottom, and I recommend reading that. For a couple of things, because again, they talk about how to get support if you've got problems, but they also mention something that I keep meaning to blog, but I have not yet. Is somebody's like, well, how do I try this? What if I don't have a tenant? And they're like, well, you need to go here and get a developer tenant for free and try it there. And so that's just a good thing. So even if you're not a designer, even if you're an IT pro or whatever, this is a good, easy way to just see what's out there so that you can kind of get your head wrapped around the new features of the product.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I struggle, right? I'm certain that it's good, and it's definitely known the best of intention. I'm never going to get over the emotional baggage.
Yeah. So another thing that came out as I was cruising the internet, I stumbled across a blog post. This is not new, but it is something that is always timely. And it's an article on how to secure privileged access in Azure Active Directory. So this is it's kind of a long read. So make sure, I love how the docs.microsoft.com at the top, it does two things that I super love. I feel like it should be against the law and punishable maybe by death to not post the date a technical article was written. Like if I open up a technical article and at the very first thing, right under the title, I'll let them put the title first. But if it doesn't have the date it was published, I hate them right in the face. Like I just can't be more angry at them for that.
100% agree.
So this does that. But the second thing that it does is it gives you an estimate of how long it's going to take you to read this article. And for this one, it guesses 26 minutes. And I would say that's probably not too far off. Now, for Shane, it's going to be a little longer because his finger moves underneath the words when he reads. It's kind of distracting, but you get used to it.
But I'm getting bigger muscles because my monitor is so big. I got to move further now. It's like this.
Bigger range of motion. It's kind of a workout now. But it talks about kind of what the functionality is around privileged access inside of Azure Active Directory, having privileged accounts and how to make things safe. And then it shows you how to do all that because you can't just do it in a day. You can't just lay it down. All right, today, privileged access in Azure Active Directory, go. It's a process. And so they tell you what to do and then they tell you how to do it, which I think is very handy. And so for those of us who are Office 365 focused mainly, this is a good primer on what things we can do once we've, because we kind of get the blinders on in Office 365. People can log in and then we go. And this is a good primer on some of the other security things we can do. Because the bad guys, they're just getting badder.
Yep. So I'll just throw a little footnote in there. Speaking of this hybrid scenario, I saw an article that there was the Exchange hybrid configuration wizard, the transfer settings. Those are getting updated very soon. So Tony Redmond over on Petri has a nice little article about it. And what's interesting is he says, all right, so some of the things they're adding are great, but we needed this back in 2011, right? So just a good reminder that, if you are still new, because there are lots and lots of people that are still moving. Yeah. There are some better functionality coming, but if you've already moved Exchange out there and you manually moved all your mailbox policies and things like that and cussed the whole time, know that the next guy will have it a little easier for you.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, we were talking about stuff earlier, like the SharePoint Starter Kit and all that. There is always somebody new.
Yeah.
Every conference we go to, there's somebody who's like, I just got this new job and I'm running SharePoint. Can you help me? Every time. So it's always good.
Yeah, when we had that debate that thankfully died, right, with some of the speakers who, right, are always trying to push and do the latest and greatest. Like, I've already covered 101 stuff, but in reality, there's usually more people that are at that 101 still learning level than there's ever going to be at the, here's this super amazing story. And, it's just kind of a good reminder to those of you out there, right, that don't, just because you've known how to do this thing for 10 years doesn't mean that new person knows how to do it. So.
Yeah, and that is, Shane mocks me about this constantly, the curse of knowledge that I suffer from. I have an affliction that I feel like once I know something, I can't imagine ever not knowing it, and it just seems elementary. Like, I feel like there's no value in me telling anybody else this thing because it's normal stuff. But that is not the case. And so he uses that all the time to encourage me to blog things that I think are worthless blog posts because it's obvious stuff, but it ends up not being obvious stuff. So the same goes for you. If you're out there doing things and you're like, nobody cares about that, I can't. No, you absolutely have something of value to people out there. Absolutely.
Everybody's got to learn the first time.
Yep. Another thing that was published here out on the internet, this is from a product that I know and love, a little product called OneDrive. And Shane and I's friend Stephen Rose posted a new post on the OneDrive blog about some updates that are coming to the message center. And that's just how they roll out things to you and how they're kind of making that easier to consume, and then he covers some of the things that are being added. So that is just a place that you should have. You should be checking that if you're using Office 365, you're using OneDrive, or you should be using OneDrive. And this is just one of those things. And something I meant to post in here, but I didn't. I've been going through a bunch of the OneDrive tech articles for the OneDrive team, and it's been. My God, are there a lot of OneDrive articles by Microsoft? Holy crap. I mean, literally hundreds of them, many hundreds of them. But I'm also stumbling across some amazing articles that I didn't know existed. Like I'm learning so much about OneDrive and all that. So I was going to post some of my, the top 5 favorites that I've read here in the last week or so, and I forgot to add them here. But there's just great functionality out there. So make sure that you follow that. But Steven's got some good stuff. Following him on Twitter, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, that reminds me, folks, maybe you can help me encourage Mr. Todd Clint, right? I want him to go back out there and start making YouTube videos on getting started with OneDrive and do that 101 content. I think it would blow up on YouTube. It'd make him almost as popular as me.
Oh, my goodness. I can't even begin to imagine that level of success and notoriety.
But that's, it's the same story, right? Todd and I, we fight about this all the time. He wants to make cool stuff. I'm like, Todd, go teach people how to click the button that says, create your OneDrive for the first time. Oh, it's been done. Yay, now get started. Because that's the stuff we need.
Yeah, I should probably do that. Yeah, good stuff. So you had you added G. Tell the folks about G.
Oh, I assume you'd already seen that.
I've seen some of them, yeah.
Yeah, right. So we all know that the good old EU gave us GDPR, and we all cursed and cried about it. Most of us ignored it. Whatever. Do what you want. But apparently they have not made enough people sad, right? Because that only really made businesses sad. So now what the EU is working on is how to make everyone else on the internet sad. And what they're doing is they are going to pass some laws that ban memes. All right, maybe that's not actually the name of the law. But what they're doing is they're trying to do, and it sounds like it's going to pass. So they're going to make laws that put the onus on Microsoft, Google, Facebook, those type of companies to scan all the content before it's uploaded to make sure that they're not stealing, copyrighted images or private, or not private, but things essentially that big lobbyist groups want to make sure their IP is being protected. And so before you can upload that meme of your favorite Star Wars character saying the Force will be with you, Todd, they're going to be like, oh, that's a copyright violation. It's been blocked. And it's just going to destroy all of our meme game. And I'm as a guy who speaks on memes mostly on Twitter, it is really disturbing to me that the EU is going to try and do this based on a bunch of lobbyists. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think I agree. Jonathan Mast in the chat room, he just likes to cause trouble. Nobody likes him. He is a big fan of GDPR, but again, I think it's just because he's a bad person. But I agree that this part of GDPR seems kind of bad because a lot of that stuff is covered under parity, at least in the United States. There's laws. There are defenses against copyright infringement around parity. And so there's some of that you can get on. Now, I will say that when I first was scanning the notes and you had the GDPR and you said first GDPR now memes, I was thinking it was the first memes about GDPR. And I will say the internet absolutely delivered when it came to memes about GDPR. I don't know how many times I had tears in my eyes looking at memes that were situations that had the phrase, we just wanted to let you know we've updated our privacy settings. I mean, like people stranded on desert islands opening up a bottle with a note in it, and the note is, we've updated our privacy settings. I mean, the memes around GDPR were amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like like a good meme? And Mark pointed out that one of the other things that could potentially be used. So there's a bunch of privacy people that are worried that they're just going to use this to catalog the internet and know all the things about us, whatever, they don't know everything about us. But it could also then start saying, so I could go and register my face and say, hey, my face belongs to me. And so if you take a vacation photo and I just happen to be in the background making a mad face because you're smiling and happy, I can be like, no, I want that photo taken off the internet because it includes my copyrighted face. So imagine the scenarios now where, a bunch of things that are public are no longer public, but how would the law even work there, right? Because last I checked, you're allowed to take pictures and not.
Well, so this brings up an interesting thing. Exactly the thing that you talked about. It is illegal to take certain pictures of the Eiffel Tower. So the look on your face, and for those of you who are listening to the audio only thing, he had the whole dog with the ear sticking up thing. The Eiffel Tower, obviously a big landmark that is visible from many miles inside of Paris. There are situations where it is illegal to take pictures of the Eiffel Tower. Not the Eiffel Tower itself, because of all the things that you said, there's no expectation of privacy and all that. But apparently with French or EU law or however it is, the people who put the lights on the Eiffel Tower were able to copyright the lights and the light shows on the Eiffel Tower. And so if you take a picture of the Eiffel Tower at night when the lights are on, it is in violation of French copyright law. Now, from what I've understood, those people have never chased that down. Like, it just happens to be illegal. They're not trying to exploit it. They didn't do it to get, but it's just one of those examples of like, how can it be illegal to take a picture of the Eiffel Tower because of how the laws are? That is one of those things. So your face falls into that. You're like, how is it illegal for me to take a picture of my family boating just because Shane's ugly mug is in the background? So I'll be curious to see how that settles out.
This type of stuff just drives me bonkers. It's like, leave the internet alone. But it's not going to happen. Right? And I'll bet you $1. I've not done the research, but I will bet you $1 that this is all being driven by, in the the recording associations,
RIAA, MPAA.
Yeah, one of those groups, right? At the end of the day, it's one of those groups that's trying to push it so they can have another avenue to collect a penny in their dying industries.
Yeah. You're talking about the guy who didn't want to get the new monitor because it was a change in the system. Those are a great example of people that don't want to change, though the world has changed around them.
Yeah, you talk about people that should be shot for, not putting dates on technical articles. Those people need to be shot too, right? I mean, have you ever had like a screaming child who wanted to watch his Barney video and you got to watch 17 minutes of commercials on a DVD that you paid for? That is bad word to insert here.
And the worst is Disney does it and they call it fast track.
Yes, right? Those are the people that there should be laws against. But no, they have billions of dollars to lobby Congress. This poor dad who would get so mad at that. I don't have the money to go fight Congress over that, but such a scam. Ooh, okay, sorry, we're going to a dark place now.
All right, so we got a couple of minutes. We've got about 16 things left in the notes. Do you want to pick like your favorite two? Like H, pick a couple of things out of H.
Yeah, we'll just do H, yep.
Okay.
So PowerApps videos. Today, right, the most important one was released last night. It's going viral, folks. Watch it before it goes so you can tell your friends you know where you were when you saw it. I have finally conquered repeating tables in PowerApps. So this is one of those things everyone asks, right? Because we all did repeating tables in InfoPath. For the longest time, there was not a good way to do it in PowerApps. There was these less than ideal scenario ways that people had came up to do them, and they were used and such, but I have finally made repeating tables that actually work the way that you want, where, a user doing data entry can tab between all the fields, so you can do it all with keyboard. You can do inline editing and deleting, modifying. Oh, it has taken me months, but I think the internet's going to explode when they realize this video is out there. So if you are into PowerApps and you want to do repeating tables, I have solved the problem finally. Oh.
Yeah, and I will say that I've been listening to Shane grouse about this for months, and I have part of my lot in life is to listen to.
See, you're making fun of me, and your Skype audio just cut out. That's what you get for talking bad about me. Try again. You cut out for the whole bashing Shane portion.
But yes, I've had to listen to him talk about this coming out, so I'm eager to see what it's like.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. The problem was I solved it a while ago, but there was a bug with the way tabs work, and so I covered it in the video. But Microsoft fixed the bug. They never admitted it was a bug. It was working as designed that now works as designed differently, the way I needed it to work. So I've got that. I did one on a random function in PowerShell. We've done get rand forever to or get random to do different things we wanted to do, and so PowerApps doesn't have one, so I made my own because sometimes I want random text. And then there's a bunch of inline code commenting stuff that they just released. It's another new feature, so there's a video covering that. So lots of fun in the PowerApp space. I don't know if you guys know this, but I love PowerApps. So check all that out. Let me know what you think about the repeating tables, because I think that I finally have scratched all the itches, all the complaints from the InfoPath users. But if I haven't, tell me so I can make another video. So, all right. And I think on that note, I'll let you jump into the community corner.
All right, we have many community events. Hopefully my internet connection will be, so Shane and I were troubleshooting this. For whatever reason, Shane, the problem that I'm having is my desktop is using wireless and not wired like it normally does, which is why it's doing what it's doing. But for the community corner, you can, if you want to meet Dan Christian in person, and he's a delightful human. I've met him, didn't offend me even a little, probably like him more than I like Shane. You can meet him at SharePoint Saturday Charlotte on August 11th. And they will be doing all kinds of SharePoint things. I have something going on at 11 and my phones are blowing up here. And then October 20th is SharePoint Saturday New England, and that is in Burlington, Massachusetts. You can check the show notes and find out about all of that, how to get tickets to those and go to those events. Also, if you are a community person and have a SharePoint event that you would like us to talk about, let us know, preferably the free ones, the community ones, but give us a shout, and we'd love to talk to you about it. And then for the non-free ones, Shane, why don't you tell us about the first one here?
July 22nd and 24th, I get to meet Dan Christian in person, right? Folks, I'm spending lots of money to go meet Dan. But Dan and I will both be speaking at the Business Application Summit out in Redmond. So that's a conference dedicated to PowerApps. Woohoo! I need a bell for that, right? If I have my mixer board. Ding! PowerApps, Power BI, Excel, Dynamics. So kind of that whole suite of citizen developer stuff. There's a summit all about that. So pretty excited to be part of that and to get to meet Dan. So that'll be awesome.
Have you not met Dan yet? You've not been in the same place with him?
No, Dan and I have, we chat on the Twitters all the time. Dan sends me hate mail and things like that. It says I stink and I'm not as good looking as I should be, which I agree with.
Yes and yes. Yeah.
But no, I've not got to shake his hand yet. So I'm looking forward to that.
And then in August, Shane and I and Lori and everybody else will be at SP TechCon in Boston. You can go to sptechcon.com and sign up for that. And that is August 26th through the 29th. Shane and I will be doing some cloudy things, SharePoint, Office 365, PowerShell things. And then I'm going to be tagging along. Shane's doing an all-day PowerApps session, and I'll be tagging along with that. So please come visit us out in Boston.
Oh, that will be a good time.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. So I think that is everything for this week. I'm going to go kick my computer in the head and get it to go back on wired internet. That should be nice.
It seems like a thing you should do here in the modern ages, but who am
As of yesterday, I was doing it. It seemed like a good thing. So thanks to everybody. If you want to reach out to us, you can hit me up on Twitter at Todd Clint or email me todd@toddclint.com. As always, the show is on at toddclint.com/netcast. Shane, how can the fine folks get a hold of you?
Twitter at Shane's Cows or email shane@powerapps911.com. Send me your stuff. Send me your things. Send me a fund to pay for my little ding PowerApps bell.
There you go. You start a GoFundMe for that. All right, everybody. Chat room will stick around for a minute, but we will see everybody else next week. And again, I will not be here next week. I apologize in advance, listeners. It'll all be Shane.
Woohoo!
Talk to you later.
See ya.